Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Lisa Oligas. In 2022, the international semester brought focus to the Czech Republic. Students and faculty visited there and vice versa through a special relationship with the University of Hradec Králové. Today, we welcome a special guest from that university, the former business dean and rector of the University of Hradec Králové, Dr. Josef Hynek. Dr. Hynek, thank you for joining us and making this journey to visit us here in Missouri Southern.
Yeah, hello, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
So how many years have you served at the university and in what roles?
I have been with the University of Hradec Králové for more than 33 years, and I served 2 terms as a president of the university, and I have been elected 4 times as a dean of our Faculty of Informatics and Management, which is a business school with strong stress on IT. So I have been in top management position for more than 20 years.
Wow, and now you get to be just a professor, you said.
Yeah, finally.
Is that freeing for you?
Finally, I am free to do lectures, to write books, and to travel to Missouri.
Which is great. It's your first time here, so tell us what you like about Missouri.
Yeah, it's first time in Missouri, not the first time in the United States. I've been many times to this country, but I like Missouri very much, and I like your campus here, and it's great to see the new development. So I'm very happy to be here.
So let's talk a little bit. What do you think are the benefits of an exchange relationship that's developed between your university and MSSU? Because we did have a big partnership, an entire semester that was about the Czech Republic.
We are really grateful for our cooperation, and not only the Czech semester, but we have already exchanged some students as well. So I was very happy to have on my class one of your students last year, and there are money already secured for your students to come next spring, and there will be more of my students coming to Joplin. And let's say the main advantage I can see, it's international exposure. Because what I'm trying to explain to my students back at home and to your students here in Joplin is that, let's say, the best students we do have are not always the ones with best grades. But the best jobs are usually for those with international exposures, for those who have traveled somewhere, who survived, who got some credits from abroad. And I think it's a universal truth.
Okay. So what prompted your visit this time to come here?
I beg your pardon?
What prompted your visit here, and are you seeing other parts of America while you're here, or just here in Missouri?
This time it's just Missouri, 10 days to MSSU in Joplin, nothing more.
Excellent. So when our semester focused on the Czech Republic, we had a wide variety of lectures and events. What do you see as your nation's biggest assets to share with the world and with our culture?
We are a small nation in the heart of Europe, which means that whenever something happens in Europe, it influences us. And what I tried to explain to your students is that we have the rich history, but it doesn't always mean, let's say, 1,000 years back. If you just imagine my life, I am slightly over 50, and I have been born in Czechoslovakia. I have been raised behind the Iron Curtain, behind the real fences. And when I was 4 years old, we were occupied by Soviet army. When I was 24, the communist regime finally collapsed. Then Czechoslovakia split it. For us, it was very good, it was peaceful. And now we are members of EU, members of NATO, members of OECD. I can freely travel to Missouri and whenever in the world. And I think it's, let's say, important message. Democracy and freedom is not for free, it's not granted, and we have lived it through.
You've seen every element of the extremes.
Yes.
And that's in a very short lifetime. Do you think that's why it's important for you to share a lot of that history?
Yeah, it's important because if you do not have the real and direct experience, it's difficult for you to imagine. It's difficult to imagine even for my daughters that were born to free world. So I can understand it must be very difficult for someone living in the country that is free for hundreds of years.
We probably take it for granted, for sure.
Yeah.
So some of the students who spoke with us on our show, Window on the World, shared that the Czech Republic has many museums and a rich history, as it is an older nation. One of the lectures you gave, talk to us about its history from that perspective of culture.
as I said, it's country in the heart of Europe, so thousands years of history. It's very picturesque country, so there are not only many museums, but a lot of very old castles, a lot of very old palaces, but also the country is very nice. There are a lot of picturesque scenes and sceneries. So I think if your students come, they will love our country.
Well, some of the lectures you have on your visit here is why someone should consider a semester in Czechia. So what are the reasons you feel someone should go visit that country?
Of course, I was trying to sell some, let's say, of the best scenes and best points. But above all, I think the main message is go abroad. Go somewhere. If you don't like Europe, go to Asia, but go somewhere. We will never be able to send 100% of students from MSSU abroad. We will never be able to send 100% from my university abroad. But those who will go, it will be a life-changing experience for them, definitely.
You say life-changing, so how do you feel like it impacted the students from your university who came here?
Greatly, and I do not have, let's say, to take it on example on my students, because I was lucky that after the fall of communism, that boy who lived behind the fences has got the scholarship from British government and Microsoft, and I was able to suddenly to study at British University, and it was completely different experience for me because I could see that I can make it in Britain as well. And if you, let's say, realize that you can settle down your business in Europe, if you can do some business with Americans, if you can pick up the phone and call someone at the other end of the world, and he or she is your friend, it makes the big difference.
Yeah, it does. So what do you think is the best benefit of studying abroad? I mean, is that maturity that comes with it, or is it maybe it's an eye-opening experience?
It's eye-opening experience, and it will change you internally, because you will realize, I think it was Obama's slogan, you can. Yeah, and really you will realize that you can do plenty of things. Yeah, because we are citizens of this world, not just citizens of Missouri or United States of America. And your, let's say, view of the world will be much broader, and you will see you can do plenty of things.
So for those who don't travel much or haven't gone abroad, what should they expect if they went to Czechia? And are there any safety concerns or changes or things they need to take into account visiting that country?
I think your students will find pretty nice and safe environment in Czechia, because our country is very safe. English is widely spoken, not only at the university, where it is compulsory for all the employees, and also, let's say, majority of students, all students at School of Business, of course, speak English. Moreover, they will, let's say, they could benefit from, let's say, extensive public transportation. It's so easy to finish your classes Friday lunchtime and to go not only around the country, but it's 3 hours to Vienna, capital of Austria.
Wow.
It's about 4 hours to Berlin, capital of Germany. It's just less than 2 hours flight to Paris. So what I did here this morning, I was putting the Europe on the map, and I made the circle on the distance from Joplin to St. Louis, and we can cover, let's say, Central Europe. And if you put the circle that covers the distance from Joplin to Denver, it will cover most of the Europe, yeah? So if your student comes for 4 months, he or she will know, let's say, a great deal of Europe by the end of his stay.
Right, not just that one country. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll discuss something we can all benefit knowing that he shared in another lecture, and that is the art of failure.
Where will you be in 4 years? At Missouri Southern State University, we're here to help you achieve your life goals. Small class sizes allow you to develop a more personal relationship with your instructors and practice your skills in immersive environments. From a healthcare simulation center to crime scene investigation, state-of-the-art science labs, a mock courtroom, and much more. Study abroad opportunities can help you develop a global mindset. Learn more about our high-quality educational opportunities at mssu.edu.
The cost of education can be a tough burden. That's why Missouri's Most 529 program was created, to help folks save for their children's and loved ones' education. Contributions to most 529 accounts grow tax-free and are eligible for a state tax deduction of up to $16,000. The Most 529 program helps families save for K-12, college, trade, or technical schools. To learn more, go to MissouriMost.org or type Most 529 into your search engine.
Being a Lion comes with a reputation for excellence. Whether it's in the classroom, on the court, or in the community, Lions are leading the way. With innovative and immersive academic programs, new scholarship opportunities, and a campus committed to the future, now is the perfect time to find your purpose. Find your pride at Missouri Southern State University.
Welcome back to Newsmakers, where we are blessed to get the wisdom of the former rector or president of the University of Hrada Králové in Czech Republic, Dr. Josef Hynek. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So you've given a number of lectures here in the past 8 to 10 days. One of them is called The Art of Failure. It's a concept many of us dread, failing, but you've given it a different spin as a way to learn. So tell us about The Art of Failure.
During COVID days, when we had, let's say, much more freedom than usually, me and my friend Tomáš Studeník, we have realized that on the market there are a lot of books about how to get rich, how to get very happy, how to get slim, how to whatever, to earn your first million. But there are not as many books on how to cope with our failures. And let's be open. We fail quite quickly, quite often, and it's quite important, let's say, to be able to cope with our own failures. And not only in personal lives, but also as, let's say, parents, teachers, and managers too.
Yeah. I mean, some people say if you haven't been fired, you don't know how to, really then revamp yourself and move on. Is that one of the kind of failures that you look at?
I think this one is a little bit extreme, of course. Many people have been fired even from their companies. We know the story of the founder of Apple and so on. But let's say quite often students fail at exams. Quite often we fail as, let's say, ordinary employees. And it is very, let's say, different. How do we perceive the failure? Whether we, let's say, are just unhappy and feel miserable, or if we are looking for, let's say, some mistakes around us, it's not me, it's him, it's because of circumstances, or, and now I'm moving to the direction our book is about, whether we take it as a lesson, whether we are able to analyze it, and whether we are able to take some lessons to make it better next time, to go through it, So, if we take it as an inspiration, of course, it's absolutely different than we just say, oh, how poor am I, yeah?
How important is it to own your mistake and say, I messed up? I mean,
it's very important because I think it's the first step to acknowledge that something was wrong and I should analyze it, I should take a lesson. Because if I don't own it, it's easy to blame someone else, It's because I haven't got the right computer. It's because you didn't buy a good software for me. It's because of COVID. It's because of whatever. We can find a lot of different excuses, but it's not the way forward.
So you understand business in Czechia. How does it differ here in the United States? And do both countries allow for failure in the marketplace, in the business world? Or is it kind of cutthroat like,
we can look at it from different perspectives. First of all, the numbers from this country as well as from Central Europe are pretty same. 50% of newly founded firms will not survive first 5 years. And only 1/3 of firms will survive 10 years. So failure is common. And of course, it also depends, let's say, on the area of our business, because some people who work maybe in IT, startups and so on, they will say fail fast, fail quickly, fail often. Because it's the way, let's say, how to develop something pretty quickly. And if our, let's say, business today doesn't work, maybe tomorrow it's time to start something else. But can you imagine something like this in Joplin Hospital? Fail quickly, fail often? No, even the mistake cannot be tolerated. In nuclear power plant, fail quickly, fail often? No. So we have to take into consideration what kind of business we are in and how to deal with failures, because failures happen not only in startups, but also in hospitals, and sometimes even in nuclear power station. Doesn't have to lead to the catastrophe, but it's important do not sweep failures under the rug, to analyze them, to deal with them, and to be very open.
What's the best approach to coming up with a fix? And I mean, is it a team effort? Do you have to all weigh in on, oh, that this was a problem?
Yeah, speaking about the teams, it's very important to create a tolerant environment. We shouldn't be afraid to speak about the failures. We shouldn't be afraid to announce that something is bad, something is wrong. We should discuss it, because there is a great book published by Harvard professor A. Edmondson, and she has realized that, let's say, the best hospitals in this country are not the ones who make, let's say, the fewer mistakes. The hospitals who do make no mistakes are the bad ones. It's just because they do not speak about them. They do not analyze anything. They do not report anything. Yeah, they are quite happy in the way they operate every day. But the best hospitals, like Mayo Clinic, they admit, yeah, there are plenty of mistakes and we have to learn from them.
Right.
That's the difference.
Okay. So is it a good sign of leadership if someone can turn a mistake or even a disastrous event into something positive? I mean, is that a good sign of leadership?
Yeah, definitely. And he or she should be able, let's say, to admit his own mistakes too, to set an example, because that's the way how to create a tolerant environment. Because if I can see, oh, my boss is a fallible person as well, I did such a small mistake, so why should I try to hide it? Why should I sweep it under the rug? Maybe it's the way where we can find something bigger, where we can improve ourselves, so let's speak about it. Let's be open.
Exactly. So another topic you covered here was a lecture called Managing Geeks. And I have a nephew who once said, if Bill Gates is a geek and so successful, I don't mind being a geek. So is there a specific mindset in those we might peg as geeks? Not meaning to name call.
Yeah, don't forget that my background is in mathematics, and I have served 4 terms as a dean of the School of Informatics and Management, so there are dozens of geeks. And let's be frank, there are plenty of Sheldon Coopers around us, yet they do not have to be only in the field of mathematics and physics. All of us are dependent on information technology. Quite often, people who are best in working in information technology, they are somehow peculiar, yeah? Not necessarily geek, but quite often they are geeks. And you have to make them to work for your company. You have to make them to do the best, yeah? And not just complaining, not just to do the crazy things. So let's say they are either part of the solution or they are part of the problem. And it's a difficult task for manager, let's say, to deal with them and to keep them on the right side.
So what's the key?
It's impossible to say it in one sentence, because there are, let's say, also different kind of geeks. Some of them are, let's say, bringing their dogs and snakes or alligators to their offices. Some of them are just buying new things, and they are very unhappy if you don't buy the latest mobile phone for them. Some of them are very quiet, and it's very difficult to speak to them. Yeah, so you have to identify what kind of geek is your geek, and then you have to find the right ways how to keep him or her happy.
Certainly. So we aren't really supposed to label people, but it is important to have an understanding of someone's strengths and limitations to help them bloom as an employee or student. Is it true with students as well?
Yeah, definitely, because all of us are different. All of us have our own, let's say, limitations. All of us have some, let's say, qualities and talents. So it's very important, not only with geeks, but whenever you work with a team of people, to be able to get the best of each member of the team.
So are these topics you also discuss at University of Hrvatska Kralova?
Yeah,
Do you have classes in this?
Yeah, I do teach project management, and the project management, it's also about the geeks, because quite often, especially if it is IT project, you have to have some geeks on the board.
All right, well, we're going to take another quick break. And when we return to look into the life of a renowned genius, computer scientist, and crypto analyst, Dr. Hynek gives us insights about Alan Turing. Welcome back to Newsmakers, where we are one-on-one with Dr. Joseph Hynek, the former Dean of Business and Rector at the University of Hrvatska Kralova. He's been in Joplin for an 8-day visit and is sharing his knowledge with our faculty, students, and leadership. Now, you offered a lecture about Alan Turing, who is known for cracking the Nazi code. He was an English mathematician. What else about Alan Turing should we all know, and why do you find him so interesting?
First of all, let me tell you that it was the most difficult lecture I gave here in Joplin, because, you know, my background is mathematics. Alan Turing is genius mathematician, and this topic was selected by Amy Gates, the professor of literature, for her class of literature. So my first reaction was, okay, dear professor, maybe it would be better to select something else for your students of literature, because, you know, he's mathematician, I'm mathematician, so let's make it a little bit easier. But she said, what's the problem? You should make it for students of literature. So I made a lecture without a single mathematical formula, with just very small computer program, very easy just to explain what Turing machines are about. But from the, let's say, very beginning, I was a little bit afraid about this lecture, because it was like, oh, what shall I say to them not to frighten them with mathematics?
So was there a specific connection to Churchill that made you want to focus on him, or is it just the love of mathematics?
It's the love of mathematics, and of course I learned about Alan Turing during my university studies, because I did some, let's say, special course on theoretical computer science, and beside he cracked the Nazi Enigma code, beside he set up, let's say, the basics of artificial intelligence with his imitation game. He's very famous for his paper on computable numbers. That paper was published when he was 24 years old. He was just out of university. And this paper, which was published 2 decades before the first computers emerged, tells us a lot about the computer power and also about the limits, because from this time we know there are some boundaries, there are some limits. The computers will not be able to go behind them.
Yeah. You mentioned the imitation game. His life was part of a movie. Some people got exposed to that, but others may not have. He was considered a genius, a computer scientist, crypto analyst, but in some cases was condemned for that. Why?
For some people, he was genius. For many people in, let's say, his era, he was a geek. Strange, nail-bitten, shabby person who did strange things. And on the top of it, he was a practicing homosexual, which during that time was a criminal offense. So imagine that you are, let's say, a genius mathematician. You help the government and allies to shorten the war because of cracking Nazi codes. but it had to be kept secret because even after the Second World War, let's say the Soviet allies and especially East Germany, they used Enigma for more time. So the British were able to listen to, let's say, Soviet allies.
So they didn't really want to let people know that they had cracked the code.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was top secret, and Alan Turing, as a homosexual, he was considered as a security threat. So some people say that during his life, the only thing he could freely speak about was his love for chess, which is very sad.
Yeah. So is Turing one of those people who would fall into that managing geeks category?
Definitely. And you can even see in those films, not only the imitation game, but Enigma and so on, that he was very unruly. And it was quite difficult to keep him, let's say, working, keep him happy. It's quite famous that he even, let's say, contacted Winston Churchill to secure the funds for his bomb computer to crack the code and so on. Yeah, he's definitely one of the geeks.
Would he be credited with some of the code cracking we have today and the computers that we even use today?
Yeah, and the problem is that Alan Turing, except, let's say, of very narrow community of mathematicians, he was unknown to the world for more than 50 years because of that, let's say, top secret Enigma. And then, let's say, in the beginning of 21st century, the British government issued official apology. The British Queen, Elizabeth II, issued the royal pardon. And suddenly we can see, there is a British genius no one knew about before.
Yeah. It's sad, but amazing that we can talk about him now and learn from him.
Yeah.
What would you think is the biggest lesson to learn from his life for those pursuing those kind of careers? And computer science is a big career now.
I think let's say the best way to answer your question will be to use the words of Alan Turing himself.
Okay.
And he said that sometimes the people no one imagines anything of can do the things no one can imagine.
That's great, yeah.
You can't put it in better word.
So as we wrap up, what will you take away with you after visiting us here in Missouri?
I must say, finally, I'm very glad I made it to Missouri because I have been, let's say, around this cooperation for dozens of years. And your president, Dr. Van Galen, Chad Stebbins, they visited us. And I always promised them, okay, I will come to Missouri one day. So finally, I'm here. I am very impressed what you do here. I'm impressed with the quality of your students, and I'm looking forward to see more students from Missouri in Hradec Králové and to see more students from Hradec Králové here at your beautiful campus in Joplin.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all this information about your country and your job there at the university. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That wraps up this edition of Newsmakers. Our thanks to our special guest, and thank you for watching.